I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would everyone join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing we have on our general session is our oath of office. Our new trustee, Nate Cutting, welcome aboard, has been given his oath of office by our district clerk. So we are all set. You're an official board member now, so welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay. Next we have approval for the September 16th special meeting minutes. Any discussion on those? And/or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Second.
Motion second to approve those. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. And next we have public comments. Anyone here for public comment?
One more set of minutes.
Oh, I apologize. But 1 second, I apologize. That's not the 17th. Okay. I read them both the same date. Next we have up is our view the minutes for the September 17th regular meeting. Any discussion on those?
Make the motion.
Second.
Motion second to approve those. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are carried. Now we're up to public comment. Okay? Come on up here if you would like for public comment. I just want to say that the Board of Education welcomes and encourages input from the public at our board meetings. And please note that neither the board nor administration can engage in a dialogue or respond to questions concerning personnel or student matters. It's not an attempt to restrict the public comment, but is done to protect the privacy of the individuals involved as required by law. And as a matter of courtesy to others in attendance, comments of individuals and groups can please be limited to less than 3 minutes. So welcome.
Hi, I'm so nervous. There's so many of you.
That's okay.
Okay, so I'm here with my concerns from like the last incident with the school threat that we had. My high schooler has anxiety and nervous about attending school. My questions were like what we could do to maybe limit the anxiety of maybe the students and the parents in a situation like that. And maybe if it would be a lot to maybe ask for like a resource officer. I've asked a lot of parents and talked to maybe the principal and maybe see if that's a possibility, because that would, I think, decrease a lot of the anxiety of the students and parents, and it would make us feel safer while we could work. And it was really hard to attend work that day and keep my mind focused on my day. And you know, I feel like we pay a lot of taxes into the school, and I feel like it would be a really good way to contribute. It takes a lot for me to do this.
Okay.
So I was wondering if like, how would we go about something like that? You know, we have a lot of students in sports bringing in large bags, and you hear about everything going on. I think there's usually no warnings to things like that. So I feel like the only way to really keep them safe would be to keep somebody to keep them safe inside the building.
We definitely thank you for your public comment. We have 3 different methods that we receive input at the beginning of the year. We have a code of conduct that we put out in August that we ask for 30-day public comment on that. That's a great place to give us comments like that. The district-wide does have a safety team in place that does consider all the inputs from not only that, but during the budget process, we send out community surveys where we solicit input into funded budget items such as that we encourage everybody to please put their input into that. I just want to say, and I know I'm probably not supposed to because I read my statement and I'm not supposed to go back and forth, but you know, we all have family in the school district. This school district is our family.
Right.
And you know, we literally have family members here, so safety is utmost important to everybody sitting at this table. The good news is there's a lot of things that have been done through our safety committee, through our capital projects that we're not allowed to disclose for obvious reasons for safety. But when we do capital projects, and just know that when the community is supporting our capital projects, our safety team always has the first crack at what's necessary to try to help for some of these things. But your other comments that are not related directly to budget stuff, are definitely heard. We've considered those before in the past, and, you know, this isn't a us versus you guys. We're all on the
Right.
same team
Yes,
with this.
absolutely, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah,
It took
and
a
we-
lot to come here and do
Yeah,
this.
we really do appreciate it,
Yeah,
because
thank you.
honestly, the only way you can really develop a good safety plan is to have input from everybody, right?
Right.
We can't think of everything.
Right.
Our safety team, in my opinion, can, but they want input from our community members to say, what are we willing to fund, what are we not willing to fund? Because budget items come up and we want that support for
Right.
capital projects. I wish I could tell you all the things that have been done in the last 6 years through capital projects, but we're not allowed to disclose that because obviously for safety reasons. So just know that we're all on the same team with this. And if anybody has any comments, please send those to our district clerk. And every one of those will be considered, because again, I think the more people that think about safety and how they engage and how they bring the school district up to the top level where everybody feels safe all the time is where we want to be too. And we have dedicated people to do that. So I know you're nervous, but thank you for your
Yes,
input. We
thank you very
appreciate
much.
it
Thank
tremendously.
you. What should I put the topic? Just safety?
Yeah, absolutely.
The budget development survey, I think, is late fall.
Yep.
Right?
It's late fall, so
Put that
maybe like
maybe
end of the
survey
month or
That'll be
November typically, right?
November?
That'll be coming out in
Okay.
November. So just to recap that, so we have those three plans. I don't have my computer in front of me, but
Will I get something in the mail for that?
we put that out on our district website, as well
Okay.
as I believe we
On
push that out through Facebook.
Okay.
And so, anyway, our code of conduct, every August is reviewed. There's a 30-day window there for all comments back on that. That code of conduct has a lot of that safety stuff in it. That's one piece. Our budget development workshop and community survey is late November-ish for next year's
Okay.
budget.
Okay.
We are looking at now with facilities, potentially looking at a capital project vote as early as next fall. So
Okay.
we would love support on that, because a lot of the stuff we're talking about are big dollar items. And
Okay.
as as dollars become available to do capital projects, we just need the community support on those. So our next
Okay.
one is as soon as next fall. And then the third input
Safety plan has,
is the safety plan.
is open up for public comment throughout the summer.
Okay. Thank you very
So
much.
those are three spots, but anytime, please, you can contact the Board of Ed by email, and
Okay.
we'll all get that. And then if there's anything we can respond to, we will.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. I apologize for going off on that again. I just know how we all feel about safety, so. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, please.
Hello.
Welcome.
Just to follow up on what Ms. Kim had said, are you determining that to put a safety officer in place would be a capital project?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No, there's not.
Okay.
No. Capital projects go to parking lots, roofs, structural components. Those are all capital
So
projects.
where would the resources come for something like that?
That would be on our budget development. I'm answering questions again. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to answer questions like this or not, but under our budget development is where that would come in. If the community survey came back and was pushing for that, we would direct our staff and our safety team to look at that and build out what would that take, and how do we get that item in a budget coming up, and that's where that would come into the process.
So moving forward, would it be worth our while to possibly go out and get a petition started for something like that, to present to the board?
I think the community survey would be loud enough, but
I just think that some
Yeah.
people aren't gonna get the survey because, one, they're not gonna look.
Yeah.
Or two, they're older individuals like myself who
Yeah.
may or may not understand what's going on here.
okay. I don't want it to feel like it's an us versus you, because I know.
I don't either, but I just I wanna do all we can
Yeah.
as a community to put the
Yep.
pieces in place to keep our kids
How
safe.
about call it like a letter of support?
Okay.
And I'm not trying to like twist words, but we have people on this board that have been talking about that position and wholeheartedly believe in it, so I just think that the way we would get that support. It's not a petition like us versus you, you have to do this, you have to do that. It's just, it would be more of a letter of support at that point. And I
Yeah.
think, that can be combined into our budgeting process.
I don't wanna lose the momentum here,
Yeah.
though, you know what I'm saying? I certainly don't want
Yep.
another incident, but I don't wanna lose the momentum of how do we address this, So, I appreciate it, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I'm not good at not answering questions. I'm not supposed to. I think it's good feedback though, so as long as you guys are okay with it. Any additional public comment? We have a bunch of government students. Anybody want to introduce yourself as government students? Start in the front row.
Hi, you all know me, I've been here before, but I'm new to Underwood. I'm just here for government. I'm here for government.
Austin Miller, here for government.
Landon Taylor, also here for government. County. Foster, here for government economics.
Landon Stanton, here for government. Taylor is here for government.
Great, welcome. Okay, no further public comment, then we will go to discussion items.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah,
Very
thank you,
much.
appreciate your input.
Thank you so much.
We have a scheduled facilities meeting on October 22nd at 5 PM. It's still all good with everybody on facilities? Okay. We're working to schedule a shared service committee meeting with Downsville sometime next month. So I do believe there's a possibility that we would, there's a potential that we could have that first shared services meeting, and then there's a potential for both of our boards to have a group workshop. So that way we can accommodate having everyone from the board on both sides there to discuss things. So if we take it from a committee to kind of get everybody as a workshop, it's an informal workshop, not a meeting, bring both boards together, and then we have all input to that. So Kevin, it would be great, like we can get everybody to the table to discuss any of the items we want to have, and then we can turn it back over to the committee to follow up on those. So if everyone's good with that, I would definitely offer that to Downsville and say that's a great idea. Brian Letter had talked to me about it a little bit. And we're gonna have the first committee meeting, we'll set agendas out of that committee meeting, and that committee meeting will probably be just our committee, and probably just our superintendent, and probably on both sides, come up with any agenda items we need, and then follow that up with the workshop, if that's good with everybody, and then kick whatever hot items back to the committee. That works for everybody. That way, I feel like everybody gets good input. They offered it, and I said, I think that's great, because we have a lot of people that are interested in discussing those things, so. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, we'll follow that way. By now, we should have, everybody sent Ms. Strainer the first and second choices for our Distinguished Service Award. We're lacking any yet?
Just a couple.
Okay, so if everyone has not done that yet, please do so as soon as you can so that we can have that for the meeting. The superintendent position has been advertised last week, and the brochure has been distributed by DCMO BOCES. We've also issued a press release and a letter to the community. For me, it's been added to the website for us. So our search process is moving along. We are following our communication outline as well. And all the applicants are due to Mr. Rulo by November 1st. That's for the superintendent applicants. And this week we have our community survey going out. So that's going to be on our website and social media as well. So that's our community input. Again, these are one of those services where the community is going to have input to drive the process, which questions get asked, what characteristics do you want of a superintendent, all those things are going to be folded into that. And that'll be closing on October 18th. So we do need a fast turnaround time. So if everybody can just spread the word on that, that would be great.
Would you like that in the Walton Reporter as well?
Yes, I think that would be
I
great.
think we've done that with the community surveys in the past.
Yep.
The letter that went out, did that go to Facebook or social media, or was it just the website?
Just the
Maybe
just-
website.
okay.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I didn't know if we want to put, there was like a press release, right, that had a general update?
Mhm.
I didn't know if we wanted to put that out on social media just as,
We could link it back to that letter as
Okay,
well.
yeah.
We can do that. So kind of like we've done in the past, when I put out the letter, we've gone to social media and
Right.
said,
it's like a summary.
click here
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see it.
to get an update on the process.
Right, so we can have that PJ link it back. even after the fact, I don't think it'll hurt anything.
That's all I have for discussion items. Do we receive any correspondence? Correspondence? Okay, we are up to our independent audit report for presentations. Welcome, Chip.
How you doing?
Good evening. Just give me a second. I'll hand out to those that weren't part of the audit committee. This is the financial statements for June 30, 2024.
There will be a quiz tomorrow in government class
There will be
on
a
what you're gonna
quiz.
hear right now. Sorry, I had to do that.
I know.
Let the cat out of the bag.
Does anybody want the notes?
I'll introduce myself. I'm Chip Clark with Dark Angelo and Company. I was the engagement partner on this year's audit. And this is kind of for the government class. The district is required to have an audit every year. It's required by New York State to have an annual independent auditor, meaning we have to be independent of the school district, perform audit procedures, and prepare a set of financial statements for the district. And those statements are sent to New York State. And it's required for all school districts. So what you have in front of you are those financial statements. I'm required to meet with the audit committee. We met with them prior to this meeting, went over everything in detail. I'm going to summarize things probably a little bit quicker so you can get on with your agenda. But if you have any questions as I go through it, feel free to ask. As I go through it. But you have two sets of financial statements in front of you. You have the basic financial statements, and then the second set is for the extracurricular clubs. So those are also required to have an audit done. I'll go through the first set of financials, and you'll see in the very front, you can see a required communication letter. This is required to communicate any difficulties or disagreements that we had with management as part of the audit process. We had no difficulties or disagreements. We were able to perform our audit procedures effectively and opine on the financial statements. You will see third page in, also required to note any items of non-compliance. You will see unassigned fund balance here as at the end of 24 was at 9.6% of your subsequent year budget, and real property tax law limits it at 4%. And then you'll also see a schedule of prior year audit findings, which was the same comment last year. We'll next go to the basic financial statements, and I'll just highlight some of the activity this year versus last year. You'll see, if you go to page 1 of the financial statements, this is what's called the independent auditor's report. And so this is what you pay for with an audit. This is a letter that basically says that these financial statements can be relied upon with reasonable assurance. The first paragraph is the most important paragraph, and it's the opinion paragraph. And this is what's called an unmodified or clean opinion. That's the highest level of opinion that an audit provides. Basically means, again, that these can be relied upon with reasonable assurance. I'll next move you to page 12. And this is the statement in that position. And what's important to note, we discussed it with the audit committee, is this statement encompasses all the district's funds and long-term assets and long-term liabilities. And there's also a set of financials in here that separate all the funds. So it's important to note that this is your full accrual or government-wide financials. You'll see total assets, quarter of the page down, of $38,765,492. Total liabilities, about 2/3 of the page down, of $44,946,428. And total net position deficit at the end of the year of $12,118,768. Discussed with the audit committee the reason why there's a deficit there in your net position, and it's because if you look up above, you'll see just in the total liabilities column, you'll see other post-employment benefits. And that number is $31,227,870. School districts are required to post a liability for their other post-employment benefits. And it's calculated for us by the district's actuary. So the district hires an actuary to provide that number. Because we book that number, and all school districts and governments are required to book that number, there's no way to fund that. Okay, so there's no legal way to fund that liability. So it automatically puts districts and governments in a deficit net position at the end of the year. So it's nothing to be concerned with. I always explain it because whenever you see a deficit net position, you should always be asking, well, why? And that's the reason why. And probably 98% of school districts at this point are in a deficit net position. Important to note that. On page 13, we get the statement of activities. You'll see total expenses for your government-wide, all your funds, of $24,149,350, offset by charges for service revenues of $223,586, operating grants and contributions of $3,298,815, and then further offset by general revenues, which are your real property taxes and your state aid, of $23,522,577, leaving you with a positive change in that position on the government-wide of $2,895,628. On page 14, we get into your fund statement. So these are all your funds. Your general fund, which is your main operating fund, school lunch fund, capital fund, etc. You'll see these all broken out. I'll focus on the general fund, which had total assets of $7,616,313, total liabilities in the general fund of $1,565,308, leaving you a total fund balance in the general fund at the end of the year of $6,051,005. And that's made up of three buckets. One is the restricted fund balance, which are your reserves. So the district has legal reserves that they set money aside for specific purposes of $2,183,596. We have assigned fund balances, which are amounts that are appropriated towards the next year's budget to assist in funding the subsequent year's budget of $1,469,114, leaving you with your unassigned portion of your fund balance of $2,398,295. Next, moving to page 16, which is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for all your funds. General fund had total revenues of $23,479,784, total expenditures of $22,939,418, leaving you with excess revenues over expenditures in the general fund of $510,785, and total fund balance at the end of the year, as I mentioned, of $6,051,005. I'll next move you to page 45. And here you'll see the budget to actual, so the adopted budget and the final budget, and then the actual revenues and expenditures that came in. You'll see total revenue, final budget of $22,799,044, a quarter of the page down. You'll see actual revenues came in at $23,479,784. So you had excess revenues over budget of $680,740. A lot of that was due, we discussed that with the audit committee, due to interest rates going up. So the district made significantly more money than budgeted on interest on their monies, which was good. I see that with a lot of other school districts. Total expenditures about 2/3 of the page down. Final budget of $24,412,381. Expenditures came in at $23,119,389, and as well as encumbrances, you had excess or under budget of $1,291,746 on the expenditure side. Next, I'll move you to page 53. Because the district expended more than $750,000 in federal monies, we're required to have an audit done in accordance with uniform guidance or a single audit act. Basically requires us to test for compliance on the grants for those federal monies to make sure the district complied with all the rules and regulations specific to each one of the grants. And you'll see the breakout of all your federal monies on page 55. Total federal monies expended of $2,754,322. Any questions? That's pretty much the nuts and bolts of the basic financial statements. Any questions before I move on to the extra classroom fund? So the next packet you have in front of you, you'll see two letters and then this set of financials for the extra classroom funds. There's two. The first letter is a required communication letter, similar to your basic financials. Basically states that we were able to perform our audit procedures effectively in the time on the financial statements. You'll see the second letter is required communication of areas in need of improvement. Now with the extra classroom funds, they don't meet the same level of internal controls that the district office does. You have students fundraising, there's not the same level of internal control that would allow to have a clean opinion. So we qualify our opinion on the extra classroom fund over the cash receipt cycle, and so it's a qualified, not a clean opinion on the extra classroom funds. And we do that for not just Walton, we do that for all school districts. It's inherent in how extra classroom funds operate and how they fund. It just doesn't meet that high bar that's required for a clean opinion on the internal controls. But in the extra classroom fund, you'll see, if you go to page 3, you'll see the statement of assets and fund equity. This is the cash at the end of the year for the extra classroom clubs, totaling $82,896. On page 4, you'll see the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund equity. The revenues coming into all the clubs of $160,051. Expenditures of $160,636, leaving you with total fund equity at the end of the year of $82,896. And then you'll see, lastly, you'll see a breakout by club on page 6 of each club and the cash balances at the end of the year. Again, totaling $82,896. And that's all I have on the extra classroom fund. Any questions on the extra classroom?
I just have one statement. On the FFA club, we said this in our audit committee, what an absolute turnaround. We started with a negative balance of $35.19, and by the end of the year, they had a positive balance of $8,252. Cash receipts of $52,000, disbursements of $40. That's a well-run club. They really turned around. My hat's off to everyone involved in FFA. What a great turnaround. Amazing.
I agree.
To see those results. Great job.
Well, thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to run them through the board, and you can answer anything for the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, we have no questions for Chip. Safe travels, Chip. Thank you. Hi, Meg. Now we left the government class. Just the... Okay, next we have any new additions to the agenda?
No additions to the agenda, but I do want to draw your attention to a name correction we made. Consent agenda item 8F, that's the athletic recommendations. We had Ariana Boyle, and it's Ariana Bohle, B-O-H-L-E. So that correction has been made.
Okay. Next, we have another consent agenda. Just want to acknowledge consent agenda C. Danny Hodges, Assistant Building Maintenance Mechanic, bus driver, is due to retire as of November 1st. So after 10 years of service, Danny, congratulations. It's a highlight for our consent agenda. Does anyone have anything else they want to discuss or highlight on the consent agenda? discussion, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is carried. And we're up to new business. First thing we have under new business is accepting donations. So I'd recommend the following donations be accepted with appreciation, and that is the scoreboard work from Empire Metalworks.
Move that.
Second.
Motion second to accept the donation of the new scoreboard. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you for that donation. Next, under new business, we have the acceptance of the independent auditor's report that was just presented to us. Any discussion on that? I believe Meg has a couple things to finalize tomorrow. I'll report back to him. Other than that, Sandy Gregory, thank you very much. She represents us on our audit committee. She catches things every year. She does a very thorough job, so thank her for her service on that. She's instrumental in that every year, so we appreciate that. Any discussion on that at all? If not, entertain a motion to accept the independent auditor's report.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. And next we have the appointment of our new board member, Nate Cutting, to the curriculum committee.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Next we have personnel appointments. We have two appointments there for administrative aide and custodial worker. Any discussion on those?
Move it.
Second.
Motion second to accept the personnel appointments. Any further discussion on those? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those appointments are carried. And now we are up to supervisor's remarks.
Okay.
Sir?
Yes, sir. So, before I ask Rick if he has anything to highlight in his report, Mr. Wood's report for O&M, just a couple things to highlight here. One, the zip line. Thank you in part to Mr. Dutcher's donation of some time and work. We appreciate the assistance there. With the delivery of wood chips on October 11th, that zip line will be put into action. So that's a 30-foot zip line for the elementary. Sounds cool, doesn't it? You guys missed that.
I go over there on the, every day, catch me out there.
And
Is there a weight limit?
Yes, there is.
I saw it cast in place, so I'm gonna say no, there can't be a weight limit on that thing, it can't be.
It's
But
not gonna
anyway,
go anywhere, sure.
So I think we gotta give recognition to Joe Setta and Rhonda for, that was their idea at Townsend School a couple years ago. They put it out under the title of, when we were doing our education outreach with the school members, you bring in all your community members and everybody presents on, what does soil and water do? Well, they represented the town of Walton, and they were kind of doing a government exercise, and they had the students vote for, I can't remember what it all was, but it was a zip line versus a couple other things. And the zip line came to fruition, was their highest voted. So Rhonda and many others went out and did a bunch of donation and fundraising for it. Got it purchased and wrote a grant. And so now we can say that came to fruition. She harassed me a lot about getting holes in the ground. We did a lot more than holes in the ground. I think at the end of the day, they took out 80 yards of topsoil. to make room for the chips. And then the guys, custodial O&M, dug all the holes, cast that thing in place, and mixed all the concrete. We just donated them a mixer so that they could use it. And my hat's off to them, because on top of everything else they were doing, Brett and his staff, they put that together as well. So, you know, I think it's a great addition. It takes away a lot of those tripping hazards, which are those plastic boundaries that broke up the swings versus the rest of the play areas. Now you'll see it's all one big envelope. So I can't wait to see what chips on. It's going to look great. So,
Yep.
my hat's off to
And
them.
we'll be sure to capture some photos with it in use and put out a nice little post on that, recognizing those individuals as well.
Yeah.
Structural engineer, I was gonna mention this in my remarks as well. The structural engineer is on site, as we've talked about in the past. I did receive the report today. It is uploaded to your facilities committee at the top of your hold list, right next to the energy audit study, so that's there for your review. There's some items, a couple items that are definitely gonna need some attention, and other items that we thought were gonna need attention that didn't. That's why we bring in the engineers to look at it, the professionals. But that's all detailed out there. We've taken into, of course, account with this project development. And the last thing, we added smart sensors to our freezers and coolers and milk coolers. That may seem like a small thing, but when you have a power outage and you have a cooler, or you have something go in a cooler, which we've had it happen at Townsend before. If you don't have something there to tell you when that temperature's getting down, you have a chance to lose a whole lot of food. And if school's in session, you have a chance to have a problem in your lunch the next day if you don't know that you have food that's spoiled. So that was a great addition. Didn't have it until now. And let's see,
Where'd the funding come from that? Was that a grant or?
in the budget.
No,
Believe it or not,
budget,
they're
yeah.
not very costly today, believe it or not. So, right, am I correct in saying that, Rick, or did that come out of technology? The smart sensors for the freezers, I think that was in O&M.
Yes.
It was a small budgetary item, which is surprising, but works on an app.
For what they'll
They'll-
save you if it goes down. In the restaurant business, I know what that will cost with restaurant. Fridge goes down.
Absolutely. The transportation, John Nolan, one of the things that we did this year in the area of safety was we upgraded the radios, the whole system, base systems in the buses. We were having issues at the end of the year where Townsend School could not talk to buses in the parking lot at getting ready to load kids. It was intermittent. They'd actually end up calling Mr. Nolan back to bus garage, and he would call by cell phone and talk. So we fixed that, we rectified it, we're actually switched to a new tower that gives us unbelievable coverage here, almost everywhere but like one road, a portion of one road. And it gives us from the other side of Sherburne all the way, down to, I think, past Manor. It's a huge stretch for our bus runs, so that's a great safety addition. And they're still working on the new buses and making sure that they get, that they're all set for our runs. We're still having a few issues, but Leonard's is up here working on it today, today actually. Rick, anything that you want to, Mr. Robinson, you want to,
I don't think so. Also, the
highlight?
stop sign cameras for the buses.
correct?
Did he include that in his?
He did not yet, because they haven't installed them yet, but that'll be next. We do have stop sign cameras, which will help us identify any individuals who are driving past the stop lights. This is something new for us. In the past, we tried to capture it, try to give the description or whatever we could to the sheriff department. This is gonna allow us to ensure our students are safe. And if somebody makes a poor decision, a safety decision, then they can talk to law enforcement, because it just can't be happening. So that'll be happening here probably in the next, well, I don't even know, I don't want to give a time frame, but, well, who knows with what's going on with delays, so.
Are they the full view units? Get the front and the back,
It's
both of them?
Yeah.
Good. They're pretty, Looked at one of them at the, one of the shows, or one of the conventions, they're pretty
Yep.
impressive. And the detail of the video is very impressive. Okay.
And the one thing I will highlight that on Mr. Robinson's report is we do have our other BOCES technician position now filled. Individual has started in the last week or so, so we have a full tech department again. So that helps Rick be able to sleep at night, and I have to be up dealing with things. On my end, I got a couple things here, so bear with me. Regionalization project, the DCMO version, if you recall, we have two. We have the New York State version, which is a 44-page data compilation. The Rick has assisted with that. I've got that just about done already. I've taken it on myself to keep it away from the building principals. School's open, but it was terrific what the Rick did. It really made it seamless. We've got a few more things to do, but I'll have that in by November 1st easily. So that's one measure that will be met. And then after that, if you recall, in January, the DSs, so Mike Rulo, will be tasked with then pulling together regional, I don't know if it's just superintendents or stakeholders or whatever it is, a whole process that the state's taking them through, putting it on them to facilitate it. And they have to build a report of regionalization to our BOCES, from our BOCES to the state. What that means or what that looks like, I don't know. Some of the data that they asked for in this report, if they're talking about shared services, I don't understand why they're asking for it. Because, I mean, how would it link? Budgetary information, how does that link? Past financials, how it's done over years. You know, so it's always interesting to see the purposes behind data points. So we'll see what happens. But we're supposed to get something regionally out of this. So that'll be interesting. The DCMO version that we signed up for, if you recall, we talked about this at a couple of board meetings ago. That is underway. They will be coming actually on site to have discussions and do a tour of the building later this month. And they'll start the day with me, end the day with me, and they'll be around the buildings and going through and having one-on-one interviews with the administrators. That's something, it's the 17th, I believe. I'll give you more information if you would like to meet with me in the morning or the afternoon from the board's perspective. If you would like to do that, we can do it. It's going to be brief. They're only here, I think, from 12:30 to 3:30. So it's they're going to be moving to get everything in. That's a short visit for a lot for discussion and walkthroughs, but that'll be happening. Last week, as Joey pushed out the information, but Homecoming Spirit Week was held last week. Kids had a ball. It was, right? Homecoming weekend last week. Good time. All right, got enough head nods. A couple sleeping. Got a couple head nods. We're good. But it was Saturday. Everything was great. We had a field hockey game, then we had a soccer game. They were getting over. Just the football game started. You had Booster Club here, cheerleaders, football players being introduced. You had the '94 state championship team being recognized. The place was packed, and it was great to see that. It was great to see people out in the droves and supporting and having spirit. Last couple items, I promise. I've mentioned the effective school solutions and the TAM training, the trauma attuned model that we're doing, and the fact that they're going to be on site doing some what we call champion teacher coaching, 20 teachers this year. That started this week. It's been on site the last couple of days, and it will continue every so many weeks throughout the year. In addition to that, the targeted review, the DSEP, part of that grant funding associated with that, which is a $50,000 grant that has to go directly to the action steps, development and plan. You've seen the plan. You recall you approved it. We have enlisted DCMO, Instructional Support Services, to support the administrators and the teachers in doing the work of those action steps. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of planning. Has a lot to do with interventions. Has a lot to do with data. A number of items within it. So we have 40 additional days of support coming from them. The administrative team met with them, they have a calendar, they actually began this week as well. So, lots going on, that's all I got, well, that's good stuff. Okay, any questions on any of that, Board of the Supervisors? No. Okay. Doug,
You need for exec?
I do not have a need for exec.
That is do we, unfortunately.
I'll move to adjourn.
Okay, a motion to adjourn,
Second.
motion seconded. All the students in favor? Yeah. Motion seconded, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned, thank you.